They say the smell reached the soldiers long before they saw anything. Not smoke, not fire, something worse: rot, decay, death. It's the summer of 1462. You are an Ottoman soldier, confident, disciplined, marching with the most powerful army on earth. You've conquered cities that were supposed to be unconquerable. You believe nothing can shock you anymore. Then your column slows. Men begin whispering. Horses rear back. Even the wind feels wrong. You walk forward, and your stomach drops. Rows. Thousands of rows. At first, they look like trees, but they're not. They're people. Human bodies lifted into the sky on tall wooden stakes arranged in precise patterns that stretch to the horizon. Some swollen and black from weeks in the sun, others freshly impaled, their mouths frozen mid-scream. Your commander vomits. Your comrades freeze. Even the Sultan himself, the conqueror of Constantinople, stares in silence. Because what stands before you is not a battlefield. It's a message written in blood by the one man the Ottomans had underestimated, Vlad Dracula, Vlad the Impaler, the man who turned human suffering into a weapon. And here's the part that should scare you. None of this was madness. This was strategy. Carefully designed, step by step. Today we're going to follow his path from a broken child to the architect of one of history's most terrifying psychological campaigns. Before we begin, subscribe to our channel if you love stories that expose the darkest truths of history, the ones textbooks don't dare to explain. Now, let's go back to where the monster was made. The year is 1442. Vlad is only 11 years old when his father makes a desperate bargain. To keep his throne, Vlad's father hands over his two youngest sons, Vlad and his brother Radu, to the Ottomans, not as chained prisoners, but as honored guests in the Sultan's palace. But don't be fooled. This wasn't hospitality. This was psychological conditioning. For the next 6 years, Vlad grows up inside the empire that will one day become his greatest enemy. He learns Turkish, strategy, philosophy, the Quran, but he also learns something far more important. The Ottomans don't rule by strength, they rule by fear. He watches public executions designed to shock entire populations. He hears screams echo through palace courtyards. He studies how small displays of terror can control thousands of people without a single soldier raising a sword. For most boys, witnessing this would break them. For Vlad, it shapes him. His brother Radu adapts to palace life, becomes close with the Sultan's son, even earns the nickname Radu the Handsome. But Vlad refuses to bow. Ottoman records describe him as stubborn, aggressive, difficult. Some accounts say he was beaten or tortured for resisting authority. Whether that's fully true or not, everyone agrees on one thing: something inside him hardened during these years. He was learning not how to survive, but how to dominate. When he finally returns to Wallachia at age 17, he returns with a new understanding. Fear is a weapon, and the one who controls fear controls the world. Vlad returns home thinking he will take his place as rightful prince. Instead, he finds a nightmare. His father is assassinated by Wallachian nobles. His older brother is murdered, buried alive. The same nobles brag about manipulating rulers like pieces on a chessboard. Vlad has no allies, no army, no power. But he has something more dangerous: a mind sharpened by trauma and trained by empire builders. For 6 years he waits in exile, studying, planning, remembering every lesson the Ottomans taught him and every wound they inflicted. In 1456 he finally seizes the Wallachian throne, his first act as ruler, not celebration, not rebuilding, revenge. He invites the same noble families who betrayed his father to a grand feast. Wine flows, music plays, everyone relaxes. Then Vlad stands up and asks a single question: "How many princes have you lived under?" The nobles proudly answer, 10, 11, 12, boasting that princes come and go, but they always survive. Vlad smiles. Minutes later, he has them arrested. The old nobility, the ones responsible for murdering his family, are impaled outside the palace walls. Slowly, painfully, deliberately. But here's where Vlad shows a strategy no one expected. The younger nobles, the strong ones, are not killed. They are marched 50 miles north and forced to rebuild a ruined fortress with their bare hands. Many die from exhaustion. The ones who survive become loyal only to him, because he has broken them. Vlad has learned a truth that will guide the rest of his life. A ruler doesn't need supporters, he needs survivors. By 1459, the Ottomans request tribute payments from Wallachia, money Vlad's father had promised long ago. The Sultan also demands something worse. Vlad must present himself in person to renew his loyalty. To the Ottomans, this is routine. To Vlad, it's humiliation. The envoys arrive. They refuse to remove their turbans, a religious custom they follow in the Sultan's court. Vlad asks politely why they keep them on. The envoys explain. Vlad nods. Well then, he says, let me help you keep them on forever. His guards nail the turbans to their skulls. He sends the envoys back alive, screaming. This wasn't just cruelty. It was a calculated message. I am not your hostage anymore. I am not your child prisoner, and I am not afraid of you. The Sultan receives his bleeding envoys and realizes Vlad has become something new, and war is now unavoidable. Most people imagine impalement as a simple punishment and a stake straight through the body. But that's not what Vlad used. His version was engineered with one goal: make the victim live as long as possible. Here's how the process actually worked, step by step. The stake was rounded, not sharp. A sharp stake kills quickly. A rounded one slides through muscle slowly. It was oiled carefully. This allowed the stake to move through the body without tearing vital organs. The insertion point was calculated, always at an angle that avoided the heart, lungs, and major arteries. The victim was lifted upright gradually. Gravity did the rest, slowly, horrifyingly. Depending on placement, the stake could emerge from the chest, shoulder, or even the mouth, but only after hours, sometimes days, of agony. Soldiers described victims who survived long enough to beg for death even after being impaled. But the physical torture was not the real weapon. The true power of impalement was psychological. Vlad didn't hide his executions. He displayed them like warnings. He placed impaled bodies along major roads in front of city gates, on hillsides overlooking villages, outside his own palace. He created patterns with them, circles, lines, spirals, and formations large enough to be seen from the distance of an approaching army. Each execution wasn't just death. It was a billboard, a silent message that said, "This is what happens when you test me." Fear spread faster than armies. Rumors amplified the horror. Stories grew with every retelling, and Vlad understood this better than any ruler of his time. By early 1462, tensions explode. Vlad refuses tribute. He raids Ottoman villages across the Danube. He kills thousands, not randomly, but in precise numbers recorded in his own letters. The Sultan finally decides, this ends now. Mehmed II gathers an army between 60,000 and 90,000 men, one of the largest forces Europe had seen. Wallachia? Barely 25,000 soldiers, many of them peasants. Any normal prince would try to negotiate, not Vlad. He knows he can't win a traditional battle, so he decides to do something different. He will destroy their minds, not their bodies. As the Ottomans march into Wallachia, they find nothing. Villages abandoned, homes burned, fields destroyed, food gone, water poisoned. This is not chaos, this is design. Vlad forces his own people to flee into mountains and forests, carrying everything of value. The Ottomans march deeper and deeper into a wasteland created specifically for them. Then at night, the attacks begin. Small groups of Vlad's men, wearing captured Ottoman uniforms, slip into the enormous camp. They set fires, kill guards, release horses, stab sleeping soldiers, then vanish into the dark. This happens again and again. The Ottomans stop sleeping. Every crackle of fire, every rustling leaf becomes a threat. Paranoia infects the army, and just as morale reaches a breaking point, Vlad strikes with the move he'd been preparing for years. The date is June 17th, 1462. One of the most daring and terrifying military operations in medieval history. Vlad learns exactly where the Sultan's tent is located. So he leads 10,000 men into a camp nearly 10 times larger. But this wasn't suicide. This was precision. His men speak enough Turkish to pass as Ottoman soldiers in the dark. The confusion is immediate. Tents catch fire, horses panic, gunpowder ignites in sudden explosions. The Wallachians cut their way through the camp, straight toward the Sultan's quarters. For a moment, according to some sources, Vlad and Mehmed see each other through the flames. One man raised in Ottoman courts, one man who escaped them, a twisted reflection of each other. The Janissaries form a human wall around their ruler. Vlad cannot break it. After hours of brutal fighting, he orders a retreat, disappearing back into the night as fast as he arrived. The Ottomans lose thousands. The Sultan survives, but something inside his army breaks. If a smaller force can strike the Sultan in the middle of his own camp, what else could be hiding in the darkness? The Ottomans advance again, slowly, nervously, and that is exactly what Vlad wanted, because waiting ahead is the masterpiece. Nothing in Ottoman history prepared them for what they saw next. As Mehmed's army approaches the Wallachian capital, a smell crawls through the air, thick, rotten, sweet, and sickening. The men cover their faces. Some stumble, some choke. Then they see it. A field. No, a landscape. A forest of wooden stakes. Not hundreds, not thousands. Between 15,000 and 20,000 bodies, arranged in perfect patterns. Rows, circles, rings, shapes so large they could be seen from hills miles away. Some bodies rotted for weeks, others fresh. A few still alive, twitching, moaning, slowly dying. Veteran soldiers who had fought in dozens of wars begin crying. Others vomit until they collapse. Some break down and refuse to continue. At the center of the field is the highest stake. On it hangs the Ottoman commander Hamza Pasha, captured alive weeks earlier, his uniform still visible, his body facing the road where the Sultan would arrive. A final message. This is what I do to your strongest men. Imagine what I will do to you. The Sultan stops. Silent. Expression unreadable. One chronicler quotes him saying, "It is impossible to take the country from a man who does such things." Translation? We cannot defeat him, not without losing our sanity. Within days, the Ottoman army begins its retreat. Vlad, against every odd, has turned back the greatest military force on earth, and he did it using something stronger than swords: fear. You would think defeating the Ottoman Empire, even temporarily, would make Vlad a hero across Europe. And in some ways, it did. The Pope praised him. Hungary celebrated him. Western leaders admired his courage, but inside Wallachia, something else was happening. Vlad's greatest weapon had become his only weapon. He began to use impalement not just on enemies, but on his own people. Merchants accused of raising prices, impaled. Villagers who disobeyed orders, impaled. Nobles rumored to be disloyal, impaled. Fear had worked so well in war that Vlad tried to use it in peace, and peace is where terror collapses. People don't want to live under constant fear, and politicians don't want a ruler who can't be controlled. So slowly, silently, Vlad's support disappears. Hungary stops backing him. Local nobles plot against him, and the Ottomans find the perfect replacement: his own brother, Radu. With Ottoman gold and support, Radu positions himself as the reasonable alternative. A prince who won't torture everyone, a prince who won't start wars, a prince who isn't a living nightmare. Wallachian nobles switch sides. Hungary withdraws its soldiers. Vlad's own allies crumble. By late 1462, just months after creating the Forest of the Impaled, Vlad is forced to flee. He rides into Hungarian territory expecting protection. Instead, King Matthias Corvinus arrests him. Why? Several theories exist. Matthias feared Vlad was uncontrollable. He needed peace with the Ottomans. He forged letters to portray Vlad as a traitor. Whatever the truth, Vlad spends 12 years in captivity. But this imprisonment is not torture. It's comfortable. He lives in a noble residence. He studies. He trains. He even marries a Hungarian noblewoman. Imagine that, a man raised by torture, who built a kingdom on torture, now living quietly behind walls, almost peacefully. But peace cannot hold forever. By 1476, Wallachia is collapsing under weak rulers and constant conflict. Stephen the Great of Moldavia, a powerful ally, helps restore Vlad to the throne. For a brief moment, he is prince again, but the country is broken. His support is thin. His enemies are everywhere. Within 2 months, the Ottomans strike again. This time, Vlad has no forest of the impaled, no scorched earth, no time. He leads a small army into battle, perhaps believing he can still win through sheer ferocity. But fate has other plans. The exact details of Vlad's death are lost to history. Some say he fell in combat. Some say he was surrounded and cut down by Ottoman soldiers. Others believe his own men killed him by accident or even on purpose. But one detail is clear. His head was taken. Ottoman soldiers remove it, preserve it in honey, and send it to Sultan Mehmed in Constantinople. The Sultan displays it so that everyone can see. The monster is dead. The nightmare is over. Vlad the Impaler, who terrified armies and shaped battlefields with corpses, ends up as a trophy in the court of the empire he once defied. His body? Lost. The supposed tomb at Snagov Monastery was found empty during excavations. To this day, his true resting place remains unknown, a fitting end for a man who lived half in legend, half in fear. So what do we make of Vlad the Impaler? Hero? Monster? Genius? Madman? The truth is uncomfortable. Everything he did was human. He learned fear from the Ottomans. He learned cruelty from the nobles who murdered his family. He learned power from a world where mercy was seen as weakness. He didn't invent terror. He perfected it. His methods worked because people fear suffering more than death, because an army can defeat soldiers, but not nightmares, because the mind breaks long before the body. The Forest of the Impaled wasn't madness. It was psychology. Cold, precise, effective, and that should scare us more than the blood or the violence. Because if terror can stop the strongest empire on earth, what does that say about human nature? What does it say about the kind of leaders we create when cruelty is rewarded? What does it say about us? If you want to keep exploring stories that reveal the dark truths behind history, the real human psychology, not just the myths, subscribe to our channel, not just for support, but so you don't miss the next chapters that textbooks avoid. History isn't just dates and battles, it's decisions, fears, and the terrifying things people do when they believe cruelty is the only path to survival. And Vlad the Impaler proved one thing: fear can build empires, but it destroys the people who use it.